Video is 331, documenting cutting in a new crossover. I have thought about this for quite some time. There have been times while running that I wished I had it. Adding this crossover will allow more flexibility. It will allow an engine to run around a train, moving the locomotive from one end to the other of the rake or consist. A train can be staged, ready to pull out onto the main track in either direction, or it will allow for more flexible storage of rolling stock in my storage area near Howe Street. This is part of an ongoing series of tips and tricks about laying track. I'm going to work in double O gauge in this video, 1 to 76.2, but the methods apply to any scale from Z to double O. If you have not watched it yet, I recommend watching In-Scale Tips and Tricks, Volume 172. There is a link to it in the description. In this video, I go through 12 important tips and tricks of laying track. I happen to be working in scale in that video, but like this one, the same skills and techniques are applicable. It's only the size that's different. By the way, for the purposes of this discussion, I'm going to refer to points, turnouts, and switches as turnouts. If you liked the video, how about giving me a thumbs up? If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. In this case, I selected the shortest turnouts I had available because there is a curve on the freight line immediately adjacent to one of the turnouts in the crossover, and I wanted to be sure I left a little straight track before entering the crossover turnout, and the smaller turnout will allow this. I'm also a bit crowded on the other end, since there is another crossover to another siding that runs into the diesel shed, branches to the steam shed, and branches to the London Underground tube train site. These constraints have caused me to hesitate for quite a while before trying this. If it fails, I will have to remove it, an unpleasant possibility. First, I cut the crossover connector to length by setting the two turnouts above their places on the existing track. Then I carefully measured the length of the straight track between the two turnouts. I cut the piece and filed the rail in smooth. When that was done, I cut the chairs or spiking plates, skiving them off at the level of the sleeper or tie. This will allow clearance for the fish plates or rail joiners to easily slide past them. In other words, cutting off the molded on tie plates will allow clearance for the fish plates or rail joiners to sit under the rail without lifting it and slide past the sleepers or ties. You will need a very sharp blade. Be careful. Use a wooden block so you don't slice your fingers. Now that the crossover is constructed, it is time to clear out the area ballast that will be in the way. The newly constructed crossover will be my guide as to what to remove. That's done. Next, lay the new crossover over the top of the existing rail and mark the ends cuts carefully. Measure twice or 3 times and cut once. I use a machinist felt tip marking pen, which makes a fine line. When you are satisfied that the marks are in precisely the right place, cut slightly short of them, just in case, and remove the unwanted track. Check the fit of the crossover. Trim if needed. Replace the underlayment using Woodland Scenic's foam tack glue. I recommend using very, very little of this glue. Spread it as thin as you can. That way, if you ever need to take the underlayment off or up, it will pop right off and not damage the foam underlayment at all. I also use it to glue my track to the foam. Same thing is true. Use very little and spread it extremely thin, and your track will pop off without damage. Next, I'll put the rail joiners on the crossover and push them past the end of the rails. To accommodate this, I have removed the tie plates from the sleeper ties on each rail. If we cut everything correctly, the crossover will drop in and the rail joiners will slide over the joints. Now to test. It works. Next, we need to ballast the track and then weather it. That will be in a separate video. By the way, the weathering of the track doesn't need to match the adjacent track perfectly. In fact, if it's wildly different, it looks fine. They could have maintained a pair of turnouts or replaced one of them or both of them recently. If the railway company has done any work to the track, the ballast could be new in that area. The track could be new. Who knows? Thanks for watching. See you next time.
This is a Northern Line train via Charing Cross, terminating at Kennington.